Hi everyone, welcome to another review, and this one is of the Project M. So the Project M, the word M doesn't stand for magnificent. I'm just calling it magnificent because I just think it's magnificent I am. And this is getting some hype right now. This is from a Singaporean brand, Dita. And Dita is a very interesting brand. They release one or two products max within a phase of time. And they spend a lot of effort in R&D. And the Dita Perpetua is their flagship. Interestingly and curiously, it is a single dynamic driver flagship, which I can safely claim that I played a part in, raising the awareness of the Perpetua among Western consumers, especially in North America. I ran into the Dita Perpetua a year ago during CanJam Singapore, and since then I've talked it up, and finally it reached a lot of people in the West. And then there was a flurry of people buying, especially because after it sort of hit critical mass through the water cooler thread on Headfire, which is basically where a lot of summit fires hang out. This is not a flagship IM. It is not a $3,000 IM. It's a very pretty IM. It's the shells in particular are just stunning. It's as clear as distilled water. But this is just amazing, and I applaud Dita for coming out with a very affordable price point. I am at a very affordable price point after releasing a master class like the Perpetua. And this does not disappoint. Even if you like the Perpetua, you might just like this because this has a very complimentary tuning. Anyway, this review is going to be broken up into sort of like some telling of the Project M story, a discussion on build, comfort, and accessories. I then will move on to talk about sound, which is something that I like to do, which is something that I think I'm better at. And I'll talk about the sound, and then I'll leave this review. I'll end the review with some comparisons, especially to the Sony IR M7, the Moondraw Variations, Dunu SA6, and Flip Ears Ether. Okay, now for the Project M story. So the Project M, the M plays homage to Michael, who's a young prodigy currently doing his PhD in the UK. He's a diehard audiophile who became friends with the Dita founder at a very young age and made his own custom headphones at the age of 14. Michael actively participated in Project M's development, and his PhD thesis became a catalyst for the overall tuning of this IM. Project M also kickstarted many firsts for Dita Audio. It is their first resin IM, their first hybrid. Dita is otherwise known for their meticulous metal craftsmanship and adherence to the single DD design. The 9.8mm dynamic driver named PM1 Plus does all the heavy lifting still, but it does also have a balanced armature driver which handles the upper registers and gives you a very sweet treble. Dita put the BA driver right in the nozzle, so right here, and you can make out what these drivers look like by looking through the resin shell, and which is a very interesting decision, which obviously paid off because it has a treble like no other at this price point. Okay, I'll start with talking about build, comfort, and accessories. Of course, it's a very beautiful IM. It's a really, really pretty IM. It's very difficult to get this right, do justice to the beauty of this IM through photographs. So they have a slow poured resin shell, and it's a simply flawless rendition of that sort of look. As I said, it's clear as distilled water and polished to perfection. Not even the tiniest trace of trapped air bubbles are present. The metal housing encasing the PM Plus 1 driver sports a beautiful Dita logo right here. It is a very beautiful logo, and it shifts colors depending on the lighting angle, and it's just stunning. Okay, it does come with like somewhat a standard packaging. It's minimal, and it looks. I love the grid work here, and I'll just open it up. The innards will not disappoint. There is a very interesting sustainer case inside. I'll just show you the case in a sec. This sustainer case is made in Germany by Thanos, and it's obviously it bears the Dita logo. This case is made of very high quality plastic, and it's got very soft silicone inlay. I will struggle to open this, but now it's opened up. It will give you a cable clip, a connector, of course. Now this is interesting because this time the Dita cable comes with their awesome plug version 2 modular termination system, so you can swap out the terminations as you want to. This cable is an interesting one because it uses, this is the Mocha cable, the Dita Mocha cable, the stock cable. It's a very decent stock cable. It looks pretty. It's an aesthetic match. It has a bit of memory, so you might want to check it. I mean, you might want to use it or might not. Depends on you. Does look nice. Feels premium. Has a bit of memory. Now this has genuine Cardas connectors. And like I said, it has Dita's very awesome. It's actually called the Awesome Plug version 2 system. And this is how it works. And, you can... I will just struggle with it a little bit and I will put it back. So anyway, so this is how you basically unscrew it and you can screw on a different connector. So, I mean, it's pretty evident that this is pretty impressive, high quality accessorization. You get, these tips, of course. And all this for $325 is exemplary. Now, comfort with these IMs is top notch. I wish I could show you a side view of my ears wearing this. I do find it very, very comfortable. And finally, now I want to talk about sound. Okay, so sonically, guys, the first thing I want to talk about that is very open and airy, and the treble firing from the B8 driver firing from the nozzle, firing treble energy frequencies into your ears is just a very interesting experience because it's not bright, but it can be if you haven't paired this right, or if you're not driving it right, because it does require a fair amount of power to be driven properly. So most dongles won't cut it, I think. It does have very good synergy with the Dita Navigator, but I do think it benefits from more headroom. I've tried this on like full-size desktop amps and DACs like the Golden Wave Serenade from Hyphaman, and that was amazing. I think burn-in has an effect on this too. And the treble eased out after burn-in. Overall, I would say it has a bright neutral tonality, and the treble quality, it does remind me of the Elysian Annihilator. The Annihilator, of course, is a $4,000 IM, and it's way more expensive. And of course, the Annihilator has a more resolving treble, but this does remind me of that kind of treble because it's one of those trebles which can sound bright, but it's not sharp or fatiguing or offensive. So bright done right, keep these words in mind, it makes for an amazing experience. And it is not meant to sound fatiguing as long as it's smooth. I mean, you could be someone who's very sensitive to treble frequencies, in which case you might want to audition this first, but it doesn't bother me. And I have a friend of mine who's also a reviewer, who likes warm stuff, who's very sensitive to treble. But he wasn't bothered by this in the slightest. As a matter of fact, he loved it, and he's buying a set. So that's to say that this treble is something that I think has to be heard to be understood. And I understand why a PhD thesis went into sort of crafting the treble, because the treble is just so effortless, and it's so natural. It doesn't sound imposed. It doesn't sound forced. It has no bouts of sibilance, no treble splash or grain. I mean, cymbal hits just sound so much fun, and strings and flutes also sound very lifelike and very articulate. Now, it does have a very nice mid-range as well, because the vocals are somewhat forward and lifelike. I wouldn't say it's warm, I wouldn't say it's lean, but it's slightly on the sort of less sort of thick side, so to speak. It's very clean though, and very transparent throughout. The boosted upper mid-range has zero shout or roughness. Again, it's a very smooth rendition of mid-range. I do think it's lifelike. And in this mid-range, I think the Project M has most timbral similarities with the Dita Perpetua, although the Dita Perpetua has a fuller sounding and slightly less forward mid-range. So this sort of timbre is just so lovely, and Perpetua users will still like this because of the consistency in timbral performance the Dita audio simply just seems to churn out with their IMs. Now bass, of course. Bass has top-notch quality. It's clean, it's tactile, it's textured, and it has very nice decay. So the bass decay is a running theme with Dita IMs because the bass decay was a standout feature of the Dita Perpetua as well. This is not a bass-hit IM, I'll have to warn you. The bass does punch, but it's polite though in terms of its punch. It's not as polite as something like a Traley or a Jules Aroma Audio Jewel either, but it's fairly punchy. So it's not like it's lacking. It's not like it's a gentlemanly treble. It's not polite to the point of being, disturbingly polite. It's not. It still will punch, and on certain sources it does punch quite hard. However, I do find it to be more suitable for in audiophile genres, given the fact that it's texture that you will get, it's decay that you'll get. And drums still sound fantastic on this. I do prefer drums on this, the kick drum on this, and on many IMs that have an elevated bass shelf. I am in general very appreciative of Dita Project M's bass. Okay, soundstage. Soundstage is impressive in terms of its verticality, which was the case with the Perpetua as well. So somehow this Dita guys tuned their IMs to have a lot of height, and I love that. And this also has depth, just the way the Perpetua does. So I do like the Project M soundstage, and in this, I think it slays. The Project M soundstage, I think, puts a lot of entry-level headphones like the Sennheiser HD600 to shame, because it just sounds more airy and just a little taller and a little deeper. So background details pop in a way that I feel like very few kilobuck IMs are able to muster. Macro detail retrieval is exceptional and almost trades blows with like high-end stuff like in the $1,000 range. The resolution level here is just not something I can explain because it's, I mean, at this price point is unheard of, which is why I think it's the best IM at this price point of around $300. Okay, an example would be my favorite Led Zeppelin track, Fool in the Rain. A lot of IMs struggle to produce finer nuances and textures on this track. The Hyphaman Aria sounds amazing with this track, as do like high-end IMs like the Jewel or even the Symphonium Helios, which is a very resolving IM. However, this one was actually resolving finer nuances and details on this track so well, it made me think about $1,000 IMs, guys. So I really can't, praise the resolution capacity of this IM enough. It's very, very impressive. Now, for comparisons. So comparisons-wise, guys, I think the first one I want to talk about is Sony's very, very respected M7. The M7 is a safer sounding IM. It's a little more neutral, and some might find M7 a bit boring. It is still one of my de facto sub $500 recommendations, and I personally prefer the Dita Project M over the Sony IR M7, so that says a lot, I think. Moondraw Variations is another IM that I think is very respected and well loved in the hobby and very often recommended. So Moondraw Variations, I feel like, is to some extent somewhat overrated because I feel like there's over-reliance on the Harman tuning to tune IMs, which makes, for me, a very boring sound profile. So the Moondraw Variations would not be my pick. I would take this over the higher price Variations. It does have superior timbre, it has better texture, a more natural mid-range, a more natural treble. And while the Variations has a higher bass shelf, I do think this is higher quality bass. The Dunu SA6 is another IM that's somewhat in a similar price range, which I didn't personally vibe with because the balanced armature bass of the Dunu SA6 made for an overly smooth listening, and the balanced armature bass just sucked for me. It was very, very plasticky and very annoying. So I do prefer this over the Dunu SA6. The Flip Ears Ether is a wonderful complement to this. It's higher price IM at $700. The Ether is a bit smoother, it's warmer and bassier, where I think is complementary because it is slightly neutral, bright tilted, which I find to be just really a lot of fun. Okay, so that's it, guys. This review is not meant to be like, a eulogy, but that's what it's turned out to be because this is a fantastic IM and I understand the hype for this. Huge kudos to Dita Audio. Great price point, aggressive price point, beautiful accessorization, and a beautiful and unique and adventurous and bold and well executed sound. Sajid Amit signing out. If you found this review useful, give this a like and please follow my channel. It does help with the SEO for YouTube. And stay tuned for my next one. Bye-bye.